The day I died wasn't a moment marked by screams, or blood, or a dramatic collapse. No one rushed to save me, no ambulance lights flashed, no hands held mine. It happened quietly, so quietly that even I didn't realize my heart had stopped until years later. They say emotional death is invisible, but mine felt like drowning in slow motion. Lungs full of silent water, vision dimming even while my eyes stayed open, pulse steady but meaningless. I used to believe family meant safety, but mine treated love like a luxury I was never meant to afford. My mother said I was too dramatic. My father said I was too weak. My brother said I was too much. And I believed them down to the bone. I grew up in an Austin household where silence was sharper than knives and indifference more lethal than bullets. Every time I reached out for comfort, it was like touching glass, cold, hard, uninterested. The worst part? They weren't cruel intentionally. Their cruelty came from convenience. It was easier for them to dismiss me than to understand me, easier to ignore than to nurture, easier to laugh than to listen. And I spent years mistaking their neglect for my own failure. Then came Jordan. God, I wish I could hate him. But the truth is simpler. I hate who I became because of him. He was the first person who made me feel visible. Not loved, not truly, but noticed. And when you grow up starved of affection, even crumbs taste like a feast. He fed me hope in small, sweet doses, then took it away the moment I needed it most. When I broke down, when depression wrapped its fingers around my throat, he left. Not with a fight, not with honesty. He simply faded out like a weak radio signal, letting the static settle in my chest. So it was no single betrayal that killed me, it was accumulation. A lifetime of being unseen. A lifetime of being too much and never enough all at once. One night the weight was too much. A barbecue at home, laughter echoing through the walls while I curled up on my bedroom floor, feeling my heart crack like thin ice. I cried quietly, hoping someone would knock on my door. They didn't. Below me, my mother laughed about me, said I was broken, said I made everything about myself, said I was never satisfied. My family and neighbors laughed like my pain was a comedy special. And something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not violently, just a soft click like a lock turning. The next morning, I didn't feel pain, or anger, or anything at all. It felt like someone had reached inside my chest and disconnected the wires to my heart. I stood in the mirror, stared at my own face, and saw hollow eyes looking back, calm, empty, steady. That was the day I died emotionally. And strangely, the world looked clearer. I packed 2 bags, drained my savings, and bought a bus ticket to Chicago. No goodbyes, no note, no tears, just silence. In Chicago, something awakened in the emptiness. A different version of me, sharper, colder, more focused. Without emotion weighing me down, life was suddenly about strategy, not survival, not hope, strategy. I worked like a machine, days blurred, nights vanished. Promotions came because I devoured goals without hesitation. I didn't fear failure. I didn't crave praise. I didn't form attachments. I didn't grieve losses. People admired my discipline. They called me driven, ambitious, unstoppable. But really, I was just hollow, and hollowness makes you light enough to rise without resistance. Within 10 years, I wasn't just successful. I was untouchable. I built companies, broke ceilings, shattered expectations. And all along, I never once thought of home. Until one night, staring at the Chicago skyline, I realized something important. A ghost doesn't haunt people by roaring back into their lives. A ghost haunts by returning silently, powerfully, undeniably. That's when I knew it was time to go back. Not for closure. Not for forgiveness. For reckoning. I returned to Austin the same way winter returns. Quietly, unexpectedly, harshly. Stepping off the private SUV in front of my childhood home felt like walking into a memory I no longer claimed. The house looked smaller, weaker, older, like time had chewed on it the way loneliness chews on people. My parents opened the door and stared at me like I was an apparition. Maybe I was. Maybe the version of me they buried years ago was still lying on that bedroom floor, and I was just the shadow that crawled out of the corpse. My mother's voice trembled. "You look different." Of course I did. I had no heart left for her to crush. Inside, everything felt exactly the same, down to the same picture frames, same dusty shelves, same stale smell. My father tried small talk. My mother tried guilt. I sat there with an expression they couldn't read, answering only when necessary, giving nothing away. They asked about my life, my success, my money, not about my pain, not about the years I disappeared, not about the night I died. And that told me everything I needed to know. Later, I visited Jordan. He opened the door, and for a moment, he looked like a man who saw a ghost wearing the face of someone he once loved. He invited me in. His fiancée was warm, kind, everything he pretended to be once. He kept staring at me at the dinner table, like he was searching my face for the girl he left behind. He didn't find her. After dinner, he pulled me aside, voice low. "I still think about you. Sometimes I wonder, what if things were different?" I didn't blink. They are. He swallowed hard, hurt flickering in his eyes. I didn't feel satisfaction, just nothing. That's when I realized the revenge had already begun. But I wasn't done. I bought the grocery store my parents invested their life savings into, a failing business hanging on by a thread. With one signature, I owned the future they depended on. I didn't fire them. No, I simply brought in new systems, new standards, new operations. They couldn't keep up, couldn't learn fast enough, couldn't adjust. Watching them struggle wasn't gratifying. Watching them resign wasn't triumphant. It was just inevitable. The business thrived without them. That was the knife. They had always insisted I was the problem. Now they watched their legacy flourish under the child they neglected. The more successful it became, the quieter they grew. One evening, they invited me to dinner. Their hands trembled as they set the table. They looked older, like guilt aged them faster than time. My mother cleared her throat. We know we failed you." My father nodded, tears shining. "But we want to fix things." I ate in silence, letting their words hang in the air like dust. When I finally spoke, it was soft but final. "You can't fix what you chose not to see." My mother burst into tears. My father reached for my hand. I pulled it back gently. "You didn't lose me when I left," I said. "You lost me long before. I just finally accepted it." Their sobs filled the room. I felt nothing. Not cruelty. Not pleasure. Just emptiness. The same emptiness they once gave me. I stood quietly. "Take care." I walked out of their home, closing the door on decades of hurt, their cries muffled behind it. That was the moment they finally realized. They didn't raise a monster. They created one by burying their child alive. The years passed. My parents sent messages, long ones, painful ones, desperate ones. Messages filled with apologies, memories, promises, pleas. Not once did I respond. Not out of spite. Not out of pride. But because I had nothing left to give them, not even anger. The dead don't reply to the living. Success grew around me like an empire. Awards, speeches, record-breaking expansions. My name was synonymous with resilience, even though what I had wasn't resilience. It was detachment dressed in ambition. I donated millions to mental health causes. I helped young people who felt unseen. I funded safe houses, counselors, programs, things I needed once, things no one gave me. Change was the only thing that mattered now. But return was something I avoided, until I was invited to speak at a massive charity gala back in Austin. Walking into that ballroom felt surreal. People whispered my name like a legend. Journalists snapped photos. Investors greeted me with reverence. And somewhere in the crowd, my parents stood small, fragile, silently hoping I'd look their way. I didn't. On stage, I gave a speech about survival, not the heroic kind, but the quiet kind. The kind where you keep breathing even when your chest feels hollow. The kind where you reinvent yourself because the world refuses to see you. The kind where you rise from the ground without expecting applause. The audience rose in a standing ovation. My parents cried. and I remained empty. After the event, Jordan's wife approached me. She hugged me tightly, thanking me for my work, calling me brave, strong, inspiring. I smiled politely. Because revenge wasn't the fire that burned people down. Revenge was the ice that left them frozen in place, watching, regretting, yearning, while you walked away without a single heartbeat wasted on them. I left Austin that night the same way I left years ago, quietly, without emotion, without looking back. They let me die emotionally. So I returned without a heart. And in the silence that followed, they finally understood. The coldest revenge isn't hatred. It's nothingness,